Hey guys, welcome to day 1 of school from home. As promised, we're going to continue the same as usual with our 10-minute read aloud or so. We are going to be picking up with chapter 29, which is Fish in a Tree. We have read this chapter in 2 of our classes. So I believe first and third period have already read this chapter. Second period is not. So instead of having to do 2 of these videos, I'm going to go ahead and just do 1. And after today, we'll be caught up to where everybody else is. So chapter 29, Fish in a Tree. Albert, Keisha, and I get off the bus for our class trip to the Noah Webster house. With no written work today, I'm thinking it will be a silver dollar day. Albert starts collecting acorns from the ground and filling his pockets. I'm tempted to ask why, but I'm afraid the answer will take an hour. Oliver picks up acorns and whips them at the trees. Max joins in. Max hits a tree every time. Oliver, not so much. Mr. Daniels walks over and says something to make them stop. I pick up an acorn too, and it reminds me of a little Frenchman with a pointed chin, perfectly shaped head, and a little beret. And a beret is one of those like circular hats. I name him Pierre and stick him in my pocket. I decide that I'll do a drawing of him later, maybe dancing with a lady at the Eiffel Tower. My grandpa always said he was going to take me to see it. Albert's pockets are bulging by the time we line up to go inside. Shay is rolling her eyes at him and laughing. When Mr. Daniels looks in her direction, she stops, like she has an on-off switch. When he looks away, she laughs at Albert again. Don't laugh at him, I say. Fine, she says. I'll laugh at you. I don't care if you laugh at me. Albert just stands there, looking a little lost. Albert, I whisper, why won't you tell them to go jump in a lake or at least leave you alone? Albert, Keisha talks to him in her you better listen voice. Hunched over and silent is no way to meet the world. Albert bends over, picking up more acorns. He looks up at us. It isn't logical, he says. It will only make them know it bothers me. So it does bother you, I ask? He stands up straight. Well, no one likes to be insulted, but let's say that my worry about Shay is a drop of the water in the ocean compared to my other worry right now. What's that, I ask. These acorns, he says, holding one up. This green coloring on the side looks like moss, but I am concerned that it is actually a fungus. If this is the case, all of these trees may be in danger. I have collected samples and will do further research. I lean in and look at the acorn. I like how Albert cares and is able to see things that other people wouldn't. But I wish Albert would care about himself as much as the scientific world. Mr. Daniels puts us into groups. I pray that I end up in his group or with Keisha and Albert. I get part of my wish and am in a group with Albert. Mr. Daniels is with a bunch of boys, including Oliver and Max. We get the drill about behaving, things being old, and how we're not supposed to touch them. We break into our groups and head upstairs and into a bedroom. So, our guide says, straightening her bonnet, does anyone know where the term sleep tight came from? Albert raises his hand and she calls on him with a smile. Albert points to the underside of the bed. Mattresses were held up with rope so that they were off the floor and away from bugs. When a mattress would sag, they'd tighten the ropes, making the bed more comfortable. Hence, the saying, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. Well, if anyone would know about bed bugs, he would, Shay whispers. Downstairs in the kitchen, the fireplace is big enough to stand in. The lady tells us that girls don't go to school as much as boys, that they typically stayed home to learn how to take care of the house. My mind bites into that, and I can't stop thinking about it. No more school? Ever? I lean over. Albert, do you think that time travel is possible? He whispers. Albert Einstein had extensive theories on the possibilities, and I certainly wouldn't argue with him. Me neither, I say to him. How do you think I would look in one of those dresses and bonnets? He looks puzzled. Finally, we go to a colonial schoolroom and join the rest of our class. A lady talks about what a visionary Noah Webster was to create the first American speller and dictionaries. Before that, people used to just make up spellings. There was no right or wrong ways to spell. Some visionary. This spelling stuff is all his fault, since he's the one who got it in his head that we all needed to spell the same way. I'm thinking Noah Webster was a scoundrel, and they should have put him in jail for this. The lady tells us it took him 20 years to write the dictionary, and he also wrote the first school book and grammar books. I think he must have been tipped off his rocker, as my grandpa used to say. And if you don't know what that means, that tipped off his rocker or tipped off their rocker would mean that they're crazy. Students in colonial times didn't